Okay, good everyone. I hope our day is good. Welcome to the third session for our product management classes. All right, today we'll be looking at requirement gathering and requirement gathering process and user research. But before we progress, I'd like just two people to unmute and give me a run through of just a summary of what you learned, what you can remember, what you learned from our last class. Two persons, your name and your response. You can unmute if you want to. All right, that's I guess no one is good. No one wants to do that. All right.
Hello, everyone.
Good evening. Your name?
My name is Asom Taimiju.
All right, that's something. Go on.
Yes. Okay. Okay. So far, I've been able to, the first week of our class, we learned about what product management is all about. So, and we get to that day, I understood that product management is all about. It's just those processes that product managers undergo. They do the things, those functions that they do is like a business function that they engage in that help that helps, that guides in the building of products, not just building of product, but building the product in the right way to make sure that that product meets the needs of the consumers out there.
All right,
So,
brilliant, awesome. Sorry, we don't have too much now. Just needed a quick summary. All right. Thank you. That's good. All right. For the sake of time, since that we started late, I think we'll just begin. But also one Assunta. Beautiful. All right. So today we're looking at requirement gathering process and user research. This is one of the important. I repeat, one of the important phase. I think one thing you would do most as a product manager, because your job requires gathering requirements for your team and researching about your users so that you understand how best to build a solution that aligns to their needs. All right. Um, so this table content, the table of content we'll be looking at identify your key stakeholders, conducting stakeholder interviews, perform user research, validate and prioritize requirements, effective requirement gathering, and common user research frameworks. Uh, so yeah, so what is requirement gathering? Requirement gathering process, right? All right, so like I said, this is a crucial step in your product management process. Product development process are actually is the part where you get to understand the problem that you have to solve and the goals that has to be achieved for that product. All right. Effective requirement gathering ensures that your product team has clarity on what needs to be built and why they need to even build that thing in the first place. You know, as a product manager, one of the things you're asking is why? Why are we building this product? You ask who are we building for, and you ask what are we building with in terms of the technology, what are the infrastructure, what are the things that is needed for us to bring this product to life. So if you can answer the why, the who, and the what, you are most likely on the right path. All right. All right. So what does this requirement gathering does? It aligns stakeholders on the vision and validates that the product will solve real customer product. Without clear requirement, product team risks building solutions that does not meet customer needs, resulting in waste of time and effort. All right. But first of all, I know we said customers, but now I'm saying stakeholders. Who are the stakeholders? Stakeholders are pretty much your customers. It can also be your partners, people who have deciding power about your product. It could be the policymakers, it could be the industry, maybe some bodies in the industries or some um what other people could there be? Um yeah, it could be some, yeah, like partners, the regulatory bodies, yeah, we could say the regulatory bodies for in that industry that you're building for. For example, if you're in fintech, part of the stakeholders may want to consider a CBN, all right, and the regulatory requirements and all of that. You want to consider the banks. Maybe you're integrating with a particular bank for your app and stuff like that. So those are your stakeholders. So these are every people that has a part to play in the interaction or in the usage of your product or in your product coming to life. Those are your stakeholders. So far they have a part to play in it, they are your stakeholders. So it could be your customers as well. All right. So that's it. So we are boxing all of these people plus your customer into stakeholders. All right. So requirement gathering follows a structured process with distinct phases. Though it's iterative it means that it's allowed to change and evolve and be adaptive over time. All right, based on the feedback that you get. As you learn more through research and stakeholder interview, requirements will evolve. All right. So there are key phases to this requirement gathering. We have the planning, which is where you define the scope and goals for requirement gathering, identify key stakeholders and create a plan to interface with them, develop a research plan. All right. So you define your scope, like, okay, this is what we are building, this is how far we are building it, and what is the goal, what is the product meant to do, to what extent, what is the outcome that the product is meant to achieve for the customers. All right. Then what are the key stakeholders? Like I mentioned, it could be your partners, it could be your customers, it can be the policymakers, it can be pretty much anyone, pretty much anything that any party that has a stake on that product, pretty much. All right, or will be interfacing with the product at some point. Okay. So, right, requirement gathering process involve planning. Second one is stakeholder interview. This is where you interview identified internal and external stakeholders to understand their needs, pain points, and desired outcomes. Asking probing questions and capturing detailed notes. All right. Later at the end, along this course, I'm going to show you practical ways to go about this stakeholder interview. But you do, but I want you to take note that first is the planning, second is the stakeholder interview. All right, and third, we do the user research. This is where you conduct user research through surveys. I know someone dropped the survey on the group, although that's not allowed on this group, by the way. But someone dropped the survey to help him for people to engage and help understand the needs or the problem he's trying to solve from the user perspective. So that's one way to go about it. All right, you conduct user research through survey, through focus groups. Focus groups are a group of I'm going to touch on that later on. Focus group to usability testing, observation studies, and method. All right. Um, you recruit, so pretty much it's just recruiting representative of your users, like a group of users based on their segment, and gain empathy for their experience or for whatever problem whatever problem they're experiencing. All right. Observe how they currently solve that problem. Okay. Um, let's go on. I'm going to go into details on this as well. All right, so we also have documenting the requirements. So after you've planned your requirements, you've done stakeholder interview, you've done your user research. All right, you then need to document it. All right, though you consolidate the research findings into documented report requirements, capturing user stories, describing who the user is, what they need to do, and why. Did you get that? Who your user is, what they want to do, what they want to achieve, and why they want to achieve that. Define detailed acceptance criteria and document all possible assumptions. All right, because at some point you have to validate every assumption that you have. All right, so the general requirements document for product manager, we call it PRD, product requirement document. All right, that's the general terms that we call our requirements. All right, so next we have the validating the requirement. This involves reviewing requirements with the stakeholders to ensure accuracy and alignment of priorities. This pretty much having that when you've documented it, you go over it with the stakeholders again to know the one that you have to prioritize and be sure what you documented is right and accurate. All right. You get their feedback and you refine the document. All right. Because sometimes when you first engage with them, you might be saying something. By the time you document it and you go back to them, you realize that, sorry, this is not what I meant. This is what I meant. Then you will find the document and ensure that it's aligned with their, with their outcome and their needs. All right. All right. Next, we have the requirement gathering process. All right. So I was saying that the requirement gathering process is an iterative process. Iterative, like it means, is that it evolves, it changes, it improves. It's something that gets improves on, as the day goes by, or whatever, as you keep working on it, because initial findings, we review gaps and new stakeholders, and that's how, and that's as an example, right? That's pretty much how it is. In the first instance, when you first engage with your stakeholders, your customers or people that are play important role in that industry, just to better understand what the problem you're trying to solve. At first two persons might be saying something. By the time you interview close to 10 more people, you start realizing that what you think is a major problem is even very significant to what my majority of them is experiencing. So you then have to start focusing on the main pain points, on the most important pain points that most or majority of the users are experiencing. All right. So that's how your requirement gathering process gets to improve. We iterate on it over time. All right. Requirements should be continually validated through user testing and feedback. All right. Keep an open mind and avoid making early assumptions. And let research and observation guide your requirements. There's something most product management managers used to do, right? In fact, everybody that wants to build something, all right, that wants to go into tech, I have an idea, I have an idea. Everyone used to have an idea, But the thing is that the only thing that your idea as it stands is still an assumption. All right. There's nothing that has validated that idea is going to solve any problem or is going to see the light of day. Do you understand? So no matter even the feedback from the customers, one person saying this is what they think, this is what they've experienced, it's still assumptions until you're able to test those assumptions and see that, okay, this person said this. Okay, let's test it to see if this is actually the problem. Until you're able to test it and actually get concrete feedback before you know that you're actually in the right direction of solving a major problem or a problem that is worth solving. All right. So yes, you have to avoid making early assumptions and move in the direction of your research. If don't assume maybe it is, no, you don't do that in product management. You actually follow the data. You work with data. All right. Document ongoing questions and uncertainties. By following a structured process, product managers can effectively gather unambiguous, validated requirements that set the product vision and the team up for success. All right. All right. So how do we identify key stakeholders? Okay. Identifying stakeholders is crucial in requirement gathering. All right. It includes internal team members and external customer and users who have interest in the product. Remember what I said, like your key stakeholders are people that have an interest or that would want at one point interface with your product or at one point will determine the direction of the product. They can also be stakeholders. All right. Like I said, if you're in fintech, most likely the policymakers in the fintech world will be your stakeholders because you have to make sure that whatever you're building aligns with requirements and comply with any regulatory policy that is being that body has. All right. So those people will be your stakeholders, will be part of your stakeholder as well. All right. So you have to identify who are the external stakeholders, who are the internal stakeholders, plus your team members as well. Because maybe the solution that your team members, your admins, your financial guys, your people in your team has to if they have to interface with your product as well, you have to factor them as stakeholders because they are also your users at some point. All right. There's some product that in as much that they have external users, they also have internal users. All right. Especially if there's an account manager, if there is like I say, like an admin, like a validator, like a someone that needs to approve something. So far, if your team is engaging with your product as well, you have to consider them as a stakeholders. All right. All right. Internal stakeholder can include product members like engineers, UX designers, executives, sales reports, customer reports. Um, they provide important perspective on the business goals and technical needs and industry trends. So you need to consider. So these are your internal stakeholders, the guys literally on your team. And the external stakeholders include target customers and users. So what you do is you get a mix of segments and personas. We're going to touch on this along the course. Segments and personas, roles to understand diverse needs of your customer. Because, for example, now, I don't know if you guys know, if you're in Lagos, if you know Lagos, you know mainland, you know island. All right, people they say island people are mostly for the high end people, mainland people for the middle class and all of that. And based on people's earning power, how the kind of products that they use differ. Just so you know. All right, and those are things that influences how people buy stuff, their demography, their income level, the place that they live, and things like that. So these are things that you use to segment your customer to better understand where your understanding personas. All right. So identify the champion customers who can be research partner. Other external include vendors. All right, yeah, I wanted to mention vendors, partners. I mentioned partners, relevant domain expert. All right, so these are also people that you need to consider as well as your external stakeholders. Prioritize your stakeholders based on influence over the product vision and development. Because let me say this is very important. Prioritize your stakeholders based on influence over the product vision and development because your stakeholders actually have more way of influencing the direction of the product. In fact, influencing how your product will be used. All right. I remember, was it not Udemy? Udemy at some point, they were trying to build something similar to Zoom, but for but for lecturers and everything. By the time they saw how people were interacting with their products, they had released couple of features, all right. But they noticed that only like the a few of their features that people were majorly using, all right, which was for and the people that were using it were people that wanted to create that wanted to create classes, so they wanted to create courses. They were the one using it the most, all right, and then sharing the links to their students and all of that. So they had to tailor and rearrange their product to fit more tutors, to suit more tutors more, all right, more than even student looking to gain gain knowledge from gain the knowledge, all right. So that in itself, how people were using their product, how people engage with influence the direction of the product and help them shape and best position their product to what it is now. Even LinkedIn, and I think X, before it was Twitter, the way people engage with the product was what actually determines how the product became what it is right now. All right. So you might initially have a product vision that okay, this is what we want this product to be, but pay more attention on how your stakeholders are interact with your product and how they're influencing your product because you are building for them, not for your vision. I've seen a lot of companies that have pivoted several times. I don't know if you guys pivot. They pivoted several times. Maybe they start at something, they realize that the market and the customers are going in a different direction. They pivot almost three times, pivoted almost three times till they got to the product market fit. All right. So there are times whereby you find yourself moving from one particular idea and you see yourself moving in the direction of the customer or the market. All right. So rank stakeholders based on level of interest, need related to the product. Map stakeholders on the metrics piloting influence versus interest. I think we will do an assessment on this at some point where you get to rank your stakeholders based on influence and interest. Let me note that down. Though I had a different assessment for you guys, but I think this would be a good one. All right. So you rank your stakeholders based on influence and interest. All right. There's a set of metrics that you use to do that. Okay. So how do you then conduct stakeholder interview? All right. You conduct stakeholder by to provide so all right. So stakeholder interview provide insight into the needs and pain points and preferences like we talked about. First thing you have to do is to create discussion guides to probe around the difficulties that they're encountering that is connected to the area of your product or your product concept, and how that could alleviate their problem. All right. And also the workflow steps it aims to improve. All right. And have a list of open-ended questions. Avoid yes or no. Open-ended questions are questions that you ask people that have them talk about it. For example, now you could ask, all right, so how was your experience? How's your experience using this particular product? And the person, oh, this it is this, it is that, it is this. Okay, run me how the process at which you carry out this this practice or this thing, and they run you and they take you through that process from A to Z, and that there's no you're not asking them questions like do you like this product? And the person say yes, no. Do you know? Most of the questions that are open ended be like, what are the this? How are the this? So avoid questions that have your customer say yes or no, because you get a lot of biased responses with that. All right, because it is in that responses that you're able to read between the lines to understand what are actually the pain points that they're experiencing. All right, and you keep probing with questions. All right, ask follow-up questions to uncover more details. Like if like if someone says something, ask them why. If someone says, okay, this is how we do it, ask them why. I think I heard someone say something. It says if you really want to get the truth of something, ask them why at least 5 times. All right, ask them why. And for everything they say, keep asking why. Until you get to the crux of what their motive or what the influence is that is making them do a particular thing or feel a particular way about it about something. All right. So I said ask follow-up questions to uncover more details and get to the root of why something is important to your customers. Listen attentively without judging. Don't have any assumptions. Don't say, okay, I think no. Just listen to what your customers or your users are saying. All right, use a framework like job to be done. I'm going to touch up on that later on. So there's a framework called jobs to be done. It's lead with open-ended questions to avoid biased responses. For example, how do you currently accomplish goals versus do you think this feature will help you accomplish your goal? Can someone answer Emily, please? Azumta, oh goodness. All right. So let interviews speak freely before probing with more target questions. All right. So yeah. So see the first question. When someone say, how do you currently accomplish this goal? You want to give them, the story from beginning to the end. But if you ask me, do you think this feature could help you accomplish a goal? If I say no, if I say yes, I'm not thinking deep about my response. And if I can say yeah, I can say no. There's nothing you can do with that response that will give you a very solid judgment. All right. So next one says take detailed notes, get permissions to record if helpful. For example, if you are doing your interviews, right, you would want to. If you're doing the interview, you might want to record them so that you can listen again to uncover things that you were not paying attention to when they were um when you were interviewing them. Pay attention to their emotions, to their body language, as well as words. Synthesize your response across stakeholders to identify theme on use cases. Yeah, so you identify theme use cases, and you can then section these use cases or this trend that you've noticed amongst, the numbers of stakeholders that you interviewed. Right, so look for consistencies as well as difference in perspective. Right, you can also create like a metrics, consistencies, difference. So you have like a metrics of what are the things that are consistent, what are the things that are different. What are the things that are different? Color gaps, conflict, and uncertainty for further follow-ups. For example, now when you're listening to the recording and some things is not clear, you can reach out to them again. So can you clarify what you meant by this and that, just so that you are not having any assumptions. All right. So stakeholder interview provide rich quality data to drive requirements. Schedule meetings with time to probe deeply. Iterative engagement, build rapport and understanding. Because on the long run, right, when you interview your stakeholders well, all right, you realize that you're already having a sense of bond and rapport with them. That when you launch your MVP, they'll literally be the first set of people that would like to try it out. Because for some reason it feels like you heard their problem and you are building to solve their problem. And people like to listen to people like to not just listen, people like to associate with people that's willing to solve their problem or help them out in a way that they in some way or the other. All right. All right. So now then next phase is to perform user research. How do we perform user research? First one was stakeholder interview. This one is user research. All right. So I said why stakeholder interview provide helpful context. User research offers direct insight into user behaviors, pain points, and needs. All right. User research tactics include survey. This is a broad-reaching quantitative data on usage, preference, attitude. You can email surveys to your users or intercept them on site. Maybe you just go to, maybe for example, now if your users are in a particular demography or in a particular area, you might want to go there and meet them in person and have them take the survey. All right, and we have focus groups, facilitated discussion for 6-8 users to share thoughts openly. All right, so you get to recruit diverse users and explore their reaction. All right. So your focus group it shouldn't be a large set of people. It could just be 6-8 people. All right. And you have discussions over the industry, the their experience and all of that, the problems they experience and all of that. And you can even test a minor MVP just to see how they respond to it and things like that if you have that. Usability testing. Observe users attempting tasks on your prototype, or existing workflow, and identify any confusion or pain points. So if you have a prototype already, a user group is one of the ways to actually validate your hypotheses or your assumptions. All right, by usability testing is a way that you go about that. I beg your pardon. All right. All right, next one we have observation studies. This is where you shadow or record users in their environment, see natural behaviors and walk around. All right, so for example, of a user observation studies, for example, you already have an MVP, right? Just give it to the user. All right. I mean, this will also happen in the focus group as well. You can also have a focus group for observation studies as well. All right, you give them your app, maybe it's a web app or a mobile app. You tell them to perform the tasks that they want to perform, and you start observing their their cues, observing their mannerism and stuff like that. When they try to do something, you notice that this person is looking confused. It means that the user experience is not as friendly as it seems. All right, maybe they are trying to look for the search button. They don't know how to get to get it fast search button. They're trying to filter. They're trying to do some. All right. So you ask them. So what? You ask them to carry out a task for on that what's it called on your MVP. All right. And you see if they're able to do that on their own without any necessary and any you interfering or guiding them through. All right. So that's how you also do your observation study as well. So other tactics include card sorting, concept, and feature reaction tests. I think this one also still based on the observation study. This concept and feature reaction test, it also falls in that category as well. Diary study, eye tracking, A/B testing, and more. Most of all of these are things that you probably have you will be doing when you already have your solution, just to further understand how your users are engaging your product. All right. Supplementary data like analytics, support tickets can inform um, your research also. All right. So other things you should get to understand as well for when performing user research, you develop user research plan to recruit qualified users that matches your target demographic and personas. I think this is one of the biggest mistakes most people do when they are doing their user research. You already have um your survey questions and stuff like that. You just send randomly to everybody and not your target audience. And someone that doesn't fall within your demographic cannot give you the response that you need. So you're trying to build something um for example now for blockchain. All right, the best set of people you want to do is people that are already in in the Bitcoin blockchain. They're already engaging them. Most likely you want to try out communities where you have people that are dropping stuff, who are actually you know trading trading crypto as well and stuff like that. These people have interest for it. But if you just drop it generally on one group chat, your church group chat, or your class group chat in school, something, you won't get asking people to just to fill the survey and things like that. You won't get quality data from that. So you have to ensure that people you are giving you are recruiting or sending your survey to or whatever are people that actually match your target demography and personas. So you have to ensure that you're not just, throwing your stuff out there for anyone to just and interact with or engage. All right. Create structured discussion guide and scripted task. All right. Especially when you are having your interviews. Don't have everything just going just don't wing it. Have a guide of how you want the discussion to go so that it would help the user, the stakeholders or the person to easily flow and know that you know what you are doing. Because if you're trying to probe me, ask me questions, and you're just saying all sort of things, asking sort of things that doesn't feel like everything is aligning, I will get stressed out or just and before I'll just be giving you things that doesn't even align with what you need. All right. Allow time for open-ended feedback. All right. There are cases where your customer to want to ask questions or where your target audience may want to ask something or say something. Give them that room to ask, to share things that they feel or they think. All right. Test one variable at a time. All right. Test one variable at a time. All right. So from your research, capture emotional reactions plus verbatim participant quotes, quantify results like tax success rate. For example, now if you're doing that observatory um, research, all right, you know, and you ask them to carry on a tax on the app, all right. Look at how many people were able to successfully do that, and for the ones that are giving views on something that they're experiencing, let them know. All right. Okay. All right. After this section, I will answer your questions, guys. Just give me a minute. All right. So yeah. So address knowledge gaps through more research. All right. Involve users earlier and continually throughout the product development process. Continual research reduce risk and reviews involving evolving needs. And I can like for any product manager, I'll tell you, the needs of the users evolve. It evolves like crazy. It really evolves. All right. All right. So before I take this, what is the question that I was tagged on? All right. Someone is asking, does user research come before creating of personas? All right. So creating of personas is part of user research actually. All right. Okay, but you would most likely have to engage your customer. Yeah, you have to actually research, speak to as many users so that you can understand your personas. But it's also part of user research. Everything is together. But the interviews, the the planning, the surveys, everything is start before you start building your persona based on the users that you've interacted with. All right, we're going to get to the personal parts in the meantime. All right. All right. Any other question? All right.
Yes,
So we
thank you.
continue. All right. I'll only be taking this one for the sake of time.
Mm.
All right. Go on.
All right. So thank you, sir. Good afternoon. So
Good
so far
afternoon.
you've been talking about the piece of research, which also helps to validate the product. Now, in terms of validating the product, is there a kind of percentage that the product manager needs to see in terms of the data that validates or qualifies that product to be executed? What is the right threshold? What should be the right percentage? Is it 50? Is it 60? And all? I don't know how that works.
Yeah, I think you'll be the one to determine that, though, to be honest. But the more the numbers that are aligning to a particular response, it just gives you it's more like your star notes, your compass to tell you that this is where it is. So just follow the numbers. All right.
All
If
right.
when you're running the research, if you're seeing more people in this direction, just know that this is where it is. All right. The more, the better.
All
All
right.
right.
Thank you. Yes, sir. Thank you,
You're
sir.
welcome. All right. So requirement gathering, documenting a requirement. Sorry. Okay. So how do you document your requirements? So thoughtful document requirements in form of product. What am I saying? All right. So you document your requirements in a way that your product team can readily implement it. All right. And you consolidate on your research findings. So these are ways that you captured your requirements, all right, for your team. All right. Your initial requirement might look in the way that you captured it, but when you want to give it to your engineering team for them to build, your designers and everything, we have what's called the user story. And this capture who the user is, what they need to do, and why. For instance, now I might say that it usually goes in this direction. As a user, I want to um as a user I want to search the platform so that I can know um you know outside so that I can know the number of days, or so that I can find out, find if a particular word exists on this page or something like that. All right. So you capture who the user is. Okay, you could say as a admin, or as a buyer, or depending on who the user is. What do they want to do? I want to do this. Why? So that they can do this. All right. So you have to capture those three things to help your team to pretty much understand who they are, what they're trying to do, and why, the reason behind that. All right. So that way, even especially for your design guys, for your design team, which will help them design an experience that would make them do what they need to do well. All right. So use persona details and codes to add more context. All right. Acceptance criteria. Acceptance criteria is it defines the functional requirements and the success metric for a user story to enable estimation and testing. So acceptance criteria are things that what you put to validate or approve that the customer is able to or check that the customer um, is able to perform that action. For example, now I would say, okay, let's say I said a user that wants to search a particular page so that it can identify if that word or if that name exists on that page or on that page. All right. You want to add function requirements such that there should be a search field for the user. There should be a suggestion whereby whatever they are searching, the user are seeing suggestions that aligns with what they are searching. All right. You could put a requirement that says, um, you know, I don't know, but those are two ones that's coming to my head right now. All right. So you put out all those requirements that would help in terms of the um, you know, ensure that that particular action is able to the user can accomplish that this action. All right. We would I'm seeing how we can do like something to really just show you guys how we write user stories and acceptance criteria, but that's not the focus for this course for this particular one. But we'll go there at some point. We'll touch on it at some point. Yeah. And then we'll touch upon it. All right, so we have the UI flow and the wireframes. So this visualize the user workflow and key pages, communicate important elements. All right, this is something that as a product manager, you would draw a lot of user flows. You will draw a lot of wireframes to just visualize how that solution will look like. All right, before the rest of your team will start bringing it to life, or the designer will start building a more high fidelity design for that wireframe, for that workflow that you've sketched out. All right, we have what we call the priority weighing, which is assign relative ranking to each requirement to guide staging and sequencing. We have glossary, define ambiguous terms. This is when you're writing requirement to ambiguous terms and acronyms universally understood across your stakeholders, because you just need to put all of this, especially when you have a lot of big acronyms or abbreviations and things like that. Assumption log, document all assumptions and unknowns, potential risks, not how to validate it, but just document it. Okay, this is what these are the assumptions that we notice. These are the unknowns, these are the potential risks that we've identified. Add that in your requirement document as well. Traceability metrics, map requirement to specific type of research findings and data resource. All right, so that if you put it, ensure that you are putting where in your findings, what particular research did you get this particular data from, so that people can actually trace it and know that it is from your survey or it is from your customer interview or from a particular set of focus group. Can that person mute, please? All right. All right. So your requirements, the documentation techniques ensures requirements are actionable, measurable, and verifiable. All right. Write concisely to avoid ambiguity, but include all essential context when you're writing your requirement. Organize your requirements using frameworks like product requirement documents. Remember I mentioned that market requirement document. Sometimes we have business requirement document. This is what the business analyst writes. Market requirements is the one when you're doing your market research together with the marketing team. Product requirements, have that framework. All right. Well documented. All right, we know those who are not in the class. All right, well documented requirement provide clarity for development team and set appropriate expectation with the stakeholders. All right, you need to be clear as possible to your team, such that they understand what you are building and how they are going to build it, and also to your stakeholders, so they understand as well that what you are building and what the part they are playing in that product. All right. All right. So validate and prioritize requirements. All right. Before finalizing requirements, validate them through reviews with the stakeholder. I know I mentioned this earlier. This ensures alignment on direction and prevent miscommunication. Schedule working session to walk through document requirements. See, this is something you do in fact weekly. All right. When you even start the development process, there's something we even call the sprint refinement, when you ensure that you work your requirements with your engineers or your team, the QA team, design, and everyone, to ensure that everyone understand what that requirement is. All right, and they can ask questions, and you can further refine the requirement to help them understand it better in the way that they understand it better. All right, you get feedback on accuracy and completeness, and any or so even if any groups or use case are missing, fill gaps by conducting more targeted research. During validation, begin prioritizing requirements based on one, your business value, and this is very important. When you're prioritizing a particular requirement, a particular feature or something, ensure that you're prioritizing it based on business value. How much value does this requirement deliver to our user and the business? That is your first thing. All right. Focus on solving core user problems. All right. Second one is effort. How many development efforts will be needed to deliver this capability? All right. So you have to understand this effort. You're looking at the numbers of your dev team or your QA team and things like that. So if you know that it will require more people, right? You want to prioritize it more. All right. But no, there's a certain metrics we use anyway. We have the rice approach to prioritization. So there are several forms of prioritization, but this is not what we are looking at. This might be something on a later we'll touch on. There are several ways to prioritize. We have the Moscow approach, we have the rice approach, we have the Kano approach, where you're using your user satisfaction level to validate a particular requirement and things like that. So there are several approaches that we use to prioritize your requirements. All right. So one other thing to check is the dependencies. Does this requirement enable or block other requirements? All right. So ensure that one thing is not blocking another thing before that one can work. All right. That's also how you prioritize. Time sensitivity. Is this a current user pain point or something they will willing to wait for? All right. So if a particular feature, a particular requirement, I think something that your customers don't mind waiting for in the third or the fourth release, you don't bother building it first. Make sure that what you are building is what is core or what is core to their problem and what will give you value to your business and to your customer at the instant of when it's released. All right. So those are the 3-4 things that you consider when prioritizing. So you capture the feedback, then update priority weighing on each requirement. Aim to provide most value as quickly as possible. All right. Involve engineers to estimate their effort and dependencies. So when you're even prioritizing, you don't prioritize alone. All right. Because this dependency and the effort, you need your team, you need your engineers, your QA team on that table when you're prioritizing, so that you can ensure that you are prioritizing rightly. All right. All right. So effective requirement gathering. Balance stakeholder requests against user needs reviewed through research. I repeat that again. Balance stakeholder requests against user needs reviewed through your research. Like I said, your stakeholders can also involve maybe your managers, the CEO, what the CEO wants. And when you get to a point where the CEO said they want something and during your research with your user, realize that this is what the user wants. All right. You then have to see how you can then balance that. Know where there will be trade-offs. Know where there will be parts where you need to understand the business value properly and know which one aligns the most. Is it what the management are saying, or is it what the business, is it what the users are asking for? And how does that, grow the business, all right, in a certain way. All right. So if what the users are asking for is something that they're also willing to pay for, and to bring more profit to your business, you know, help the management to understand it. And by the time, I know some about management is anything that will bring money, save cost, they're open to it. Do you understand? So those are things that you do. You balance all of that. So there's a whole lot of negotiation skills, a whole lot of convincing and all of that to ensure that everyone is aligned to their requirements. All right, advocate for users, but also identify low effort wins to build support. Okay, requirement gathering is an ongoing process of aligning business goals with user values. Do you get that? It's an ongoing process of aligning business goals with user value. Requirement gathering is a complex process that calls upon product managers' strategic, analytical, and communication skills. So you have to be very strategic in your way, in your approach. Have so much develop initiative that will help you succeed in terms of how you are getting your requirements. Be very analytic about it in terms of looking at the data, analyzing the data, using several approaches to analyze your data to know um, the best data to follow. All right. Communication skills as well. How you're able to communicate this to your team, to your management, to all the rest of the stakeholders. That is very, very essential. All right. By identifying stakeholders, interviewing strategically, conducting rigorous research, documenting clearly, validating continuously, a PM can develop authoritative product requirement blueprint tailored to solving the customer problems and delivering business value. All right. So all of these helps you create an authoritative product requirement blueprint that is tailored to solving what the problem that your customers are experiencing, and helping you also deliver a massive business value to the company. All right. All right. Also here it says it takes diligence. One thing I want you to understand that as well. It takes diligence to synthesize perspectives across many sources. So especially when you have a lot of data, there's a whole lot of, in fact, you might need more ends. You might need your data analyst on board. All right. You might need your data engineer on board and things like that to help you synthesize that data, those feedback, ensure that you are looking at you're having a more informed data. Analyze your data across charts, pie charts, um, what's it called, bar charts, and see them, visualize them properly to know what you are, to compare all of your data to know that, okay, you're making the right choices, you're making the right decisions across your, before development. All right, requirement document evolve incrementally as new learnings emerge through ongoing user testing. With effective requirement gathering, a product manager sets up their team to build the right product in the right way the first time around. So you won't be wasting time around doing, building the game, or because you're experiencing the misalignment and things like that, or the workflow that you developed was not right, things like that, because I, for once, have experienced that before. All right. So it provides solid foundation for the entire product development process. Remember, it provides solid foundation. If you miss it in the point of requirement, trust me, by the time you've developed to a point, you realize that you wasted a whole lot of time, effort, and it's a terrible place to be if you don't do the due diligence in the point of regarding your requirements. So don't gloss through this process. It's not a process you just want to quickly just jump to and start developing. Of course, you are trying to be agile. So in that phase, you might want to be very if you're trying to be lean in your approach, all right. You want to validate things quickly, all right, because the main work is not in the numbers of the number of the data, but in the validation of the data. How many data were you able to validate on time to know that this is the right or wrong move to make? All right. So let's say you're having some quick MVPs or workflows that you are putting out to quickly validate every data that you're getting. That's a way to move faster along your requirement gathering process or your customer discovery process. Okay. Any question? One question, just one person. First person.
Yes, sir, please.
All right.
Okay, sir.
Your
My
name and your question
is this. Okay, my name is Asomta Imejuru.
Okay.
So my question is this: these requirements, how do we source it? Is it that there are this data that they are the data we gather from the user research and also the stakeholder interview, or is there any other means of sourcing these requirements?
No, the ones, yeah, the means that I've stated are the means that are currently ways to sort those requirements. I don't know of any other process, any other means. But yeah, I mentioned um the stakeholders interview. I mentioned the user research. I mentioned the observation approach. I mentioned user group. Those are the approach that you use to get your requirements.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
All right. Okay. So I mentioned during the user research, I mentioned something called job to be done. All right. So what are common user frameworks that are common? I want you guys to be very attentive in this part. These are frameworks that people use when we are undergoing user research. So I've been able to put down about 3, I think maybe 3 or 4 here for everyone. All right. So we have the job to be done approach. All right. I think this was, I can't remember the person that brought up this approach, right? But the approach pretty much talks about focusing on the motivation, on the underlying motivation or the goal that is driving the user. You get what is the job to be done? What job are they trying to do? All right. For example, now, I don't want to talk in context of user. All right. For example, now let's say you want to go and you want to get an apartment. You want to rent an apartment, right? And you are a farmer. You're a farmer, first of all, and you want to get an apartment. And you consult an agent, and this agent didn't meet you to ask you, what are you trying to get done when you have your house? What are you trying to, what we like to get done, when you have your house? It just goes ahead and start looking for places, houses, duplex, blah, 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 and start giving it to you. You will most likely might not, it will take time before see the ones that you want. But if the agent, comes to you and asks you, okay, so in your house, what were your things that you want to do in your house? And you say, I'm a farmer. I have my farm, but I wouldn't mind having like a wide garden, where I can also be planting things in the subtenance. And because I'm a farmer, I'm used um to natural lighting, breeze blowing. So I would like a house that has, larger windows that allows more breeze, more fresh air to come in. Because what you like, I'm in my 70s. I don't have strength to be working too much. So because the person is elderly, you don't want to start. Obviously, a 4-story building is a no go for such person. So you're thinking of duplex because the person is elderly. The person is in his 60s, going to 70s. All right. So those are the things that you look at to determine what are the motivations and everything. So by the time if you want to get a um a house for that person, you most likely you get a house that is not a duplex, that is a bungalow. First of all, you get a house that has more space, more space and where they can have their garden. You get a house that has larger, windows and windows that can allow natural lighting and stuff like that. So those are the things that you look at. What are the motivation? What I think the person is trying to get done to determine how you would get or how you build a product for them. So yeah, so I wrote here. This is just an example to help you guys visualize what I'm trying to explain in terms of job done. So I didn't even, that's why I didn't use the context of tech. I use the context of everyday thing. All right, to help you really understand how you best design or build a product that aligns with your customer needs. So the job to be done frameworks is a powerful approach that focuses on understanding the underlying motivations and goals that drive the user to seek out solution. All right. Instead of concentrating on the product itself, job to be done shifts its perspective on the jobs that the users are trying to accomplish in their lives, which is what the one that I just explained, right? What I think they're trying to accomplish in their life. For example, now if you know someone is for a lady now, she cooks a lot, all right, and she always have people come over their house. She always have people come over to their house, family member and things like that always come to their house. Um, she cooks a lot. Also, someone like that, you already see the job that's out there. Someone like that, you know that the person will need a very big living room. We need a very big kitchen. All right, But if the person is, oh, I'm a newlywed, a tech bro. All right. And I don't like people coming to my house. I like my space, blah blah blah. That one wouldn't mind the living room to be very big. In fact, if it's very big service, it's a lot for him to deal with. All right. So those are the things that you ask. Those are the things you observe to understand what the job this person is trying to get done, to determine how you would build your product. So now let's look at in terms of tech now. All right. So you want to say, oh, I'm a, let me use what industry should I look at? You guys, what industry should we look at? One person. Is it food industry? Is it fintech? Is it advertising? Is it? Give me one industry.
Let's look at the fintech industry.
Fintech. All right. Let's look at fintech industry. Oh, nice. Let's do fashion. Fintech is still this thing. Let's do fashion industry. All right. Let's do fashion. All right. So, let's say you're trying to build a product that allows people to let me see. Let me guess. What kind of product could you build in the fashion industry? Is it in the textile sorting industry? Because fashion is also big as well. I want us to narrow it down so that we can know what we're focusing on, or rather just helping people buy clothing online or stuff like that. I'm trying to get what area.
Maybe helping people get ready-made clothing,
ready-made clothes. Okay, all right, good. Let's do that. So ready-made. Let's help people get ready-made clothes or ashebi. Okay, let's do ashebi. All right. So now, you're trying to build a product that help people to get ashebi. All right. First thing you want to understand, people that get ashebi. Who are the people that get ashebi? First of all, either you are getting married, or you are doing birthday. First of all, you just know that you're an African. First of all, this person is an African, either a black and mostly, Nigeria, exactly, Ashwebi. So you already know that. So why did this person wants to get Ashwebi? For their wedding, you already have that in their wedding, all right. Which part of the country in Nigeria this person comes from? Is this person from the north? Is this person from the east? Is this person from the from the West. All right. If it's from the West, what are the kind of Ashebi do we have in the West? All right. We have Kente, we have all of that, all of the kind of several, I don't know the names, but we have several ones, all right. And someone comes to you and said, the thing is that, sometimes when we want to get this Ashebi, we get it, but by time that maybe first time at the first, hey, my battery is running low, guys. Anyway, I might have to join this call on my tablet. 1 second, guys. I didn't know that. All right. All right. So let me just give me a second. Might have to split this class and join again. But don't worry. Let's keep it going on. I don't know if I can join on my. I cannot sing the. Hi guys, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, sir.
All right, superb. All right, it's still recording, right? The class is still recording, right?
Yes, sir. But you're not sharing your screen.
All right, I will do that right now. 1
Yes,
second.
sir.
All right. Okay. All right. I think we're good. Are you seeing my screen?
Yes, sir. But it's not clear yet. I think it's still coming up. Still
All right.
loading.
It's not. It's still coming up. All right, let me know when it's
Yes.
up.
Okay, sir.
Any luck?
Not yet.
No, sir, not yet.
Interesting. All right, can you see my screen?
No, sir, it just went off now.
Yeah, why is it doing that?
Yes, it's back, but it's still coming up.
All right, any luck?
No, it's not
No,
yet.
sir.
It's telling me I'm sharing my screen. Okay, you know what? I'm just gonna drop the slide on the group for us so we can take a look at
I just sent a screenshot of what's showing here, sir.
it. Okay, 1 second.
Yes, sir.
Okay, interesting, but it's telling me I'm sharing my screen, but don't understand. So you guys, let me see what you said.
Oh, sir, you can even send the slides so that everyone can be reading from their own end.
That's what I'm about to do now.
Yes, please.
Okay. All right. So yeah, so I've shared it now. You guys can You can open it and go to the slide for the page for the job to be done. Okay, so yeah, so let's go on what we're talking about. All right, so we're looking at the can that person be muted?
Imagine say they go put tent here. They go put like 2 tent here.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. All right. Can everyone mute, please? Yeah, all right. So we're talking about using the job to be done approach for for a product in the fashion industry, right? Correct.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Good. 1 second. Let me go back to the slide. All right. So we're saying that we stopped at the part that so one of the challenge, so one of the things some people trying to get done is that they're trying to ensure that whenever they order for Ashwebi, maybe for the first batch, they are able to order another one immediately. All right, whereby if I order 20 pieces of Ashwebi now, all right, I'm able to order more, and also I'm also able to see as many options of Ashwebi. All right. Another thing someone is saying that because he's a married person, as couples, as much as you want to select the Ashwebi, you want to look at styles that actually matches the Ashwebi that you want to sew. All right. So you're looking at seeing how that particular Ashwebi can fit several styles that you have in mind. So those are the things you want to get done. For example, now most times people that want to sew Ashwebi, right, after they've gotten the material, next thing they are looking for styles, that will fit that Ashwebi or that particular color shade of Ashwebi and things like that. Or they get one particular shade, they are now looking for another shade that will match that second shade. Maybe they got indigo. I say indigo. They got burgundy for the major Ashwebi, and for the filler or for the gele, they're looking for a color that will match it. So those are another thing that's a job done. That's a job that they're looking to get done. So if you're building your app, you most likely want to get a color palette option where they can see other colors that matches the particular color of Ashwebi that they selected. All right, because that's the job that they're trying to select. So if someone selects a particular Ashwebi, there should be options that shows them other ranging Ashwebi maybe filler. Let's say I chose the main material. For the other option, I can see several colors that matches that particular color. So I don't have to do so many of brain taxing while I could be, as I select one color of Ashwebi, I see other color that matches it, and I'm seeing mock-ups or sample Ashwebi that has those two matching colors to see the one that I prefer to select. Because in selecting in buying Ashwebi, one of the things is trying to select the one that will pair with the other one. Am I correct? One that will pair with the other one. So that's one job to be done. So when you're building a product, you might want to put that kind of feature in your product. You might want to put a feature whereby people can easily get their Ashwebi in less than 24 hours. Because sometimes most people they'll say they bought Ashwebi, and by the time they went back, that particular one has finished. All right, and they can't get for the next batch of people that are requesting to buy Ashwebi. All right, so it means that if you're building a marketplace for Ashwebi, you must know that you must have as many suppliers that you can easily outsource the finding for those Ashwebi and be able to get them delivered to the users right on time. All right. So so those are the things we are looking at. I'm not sure if that. Yeah, I think that answers that fits into this job to be done to some extent. But I think there's still more use case that we can think around. When we look at the things that people try to achieve when they are selecting or buying a Ashwebi, in this part of our country. All right. So that's an example of how you look at job to be done. You're looking at what is the underlying motivation. All right. What is the underlying motivation that or job that the person is trying to accomplish? All right. At the core of job to be done, people don't just simply buy products or services. They hire them to accomplish specific jobs and tasks. All right. I hope everyone is in that page. Please, if you've not, please just download the material and let's go to that common user research frameworks. All right. Let's just go there. All right. So these jobs can be functional, like cleaning a kitchen, emotional, like feeling accomplished or relieved, or related to a specific circumstance and context. All right. So these are the things that you look at. It's not just functional, like I mentioned. It could be emotional. All right. It could also be related to specific circumstances and context. All right. So by adopting job to be done mindset, team can gain deeper understanding of the job their users are trying to get done, the challenges they face, and the desired outcome they seek, which align to what I just explained in the fashion space of trying to purchase Ashwebi. All right. Or be having a solution that helps people to buy Ashwebi. All right. So these insight empower teams to design products and experiences, most importantly, that seamlessly integrate their users' lives, addressing their real needs and pain points. All right. So we have key principles of job to be done. Focus on the job, not the product. You get it? So your work is not the product. Leave the product. Focus on the job. Whatever you are building should help them achieve that job. So don't focus on the job, on the product, on the job. Because when you focus on the job, you realize that there's some components in building your product that is not solely in your product. Let me give an example. Let's look at car hiring products like Bolt and Uber and everything. Do you know that the main business of Uber is the existence of those drivers and the what's called and the people trying to buy are trying to hire, trying to get a ride. If those two components are out of the product, all right, you just have a app. In fact, you just have a useless app. All right, do you understand? So as much as you are looking for the product, the main crux of the main success of the product is the fact that they have everywhere you are, you can always get right. All right, you can always see riders ready to pick you up. All right, and so that's how you look at the product. You're looking at it holistically, where you're not just looking at the app. You're looking at the whole experience that the customers are looking to achieve, which factors into other external things that your product will then work together with. Do you understand? Is in terms of understanding job to be done. That's why I don't know if you guys have used InDrive before, right? Whereby you can put in your own price and then bargain with several drivers. Other drivers will then bargain and show you their own, if they're okay with your price, or they fix their own price, and you then look at the driver that has the closest price to what the price that you set, and you go for it. That approach to rider selection, right, is tailored to the way things are done in Nigeria, right?
that person that designed that really understood what job to be done is. Because initially in here in Nigeria, right, we negotiate a lot, and that's pretty much the approach at which we go about, things in terms of, getting getting it right, and all of that. So yeah, so that's something. So identify the functional, emotional, and contextual dimension of the job. Understand various aspects of the job, including practical tasks, emotional needs. Emotional needs is very important. I don't know how to stress this enough. Emotional need is very, very important. As much as you're looking at the functional things, the tasks that the user was, how did the user feel? How do they what's that, gravitate towards this particular thing? All right, those emotional needs, situational factors, those are things that you also look at when you're building your app. Or building your product is very, very important in this terms of job to be done approach. Uncover the desired outcome. Determine specific outcome users are striving for when hiring a product or service. Explore the forces and barriers. Investigate the forces that drive users towards a solution and the barriers that prevent them from achieving that goal. All right. So how do you then apply this job to be done framework? You conduct contextual interview, pretty much like the stakeholder interview approach that we talked about. But now you observe users in their natural environment to gain insight into their job, pinpoint and desired outcome. Analyze the data to identify patterns, recurring jobs like, how many parts of which, recurring jobs, like how many of them are having this pattern of jobs, that are trying to accomplish. Map the user journey and identify opportunities to address unmet needs or streamline process of getting the job done. So it could be like the job that a particular user is trying to get done would take them 6 or 8, from what they are saying, from the way they are talking about it. They've already go over 8 to 10 steps to get that job done. And you look at the stuff and like, if we eliminate this, do this, go to support, you probably most likely will just should take them nothing less than 3 to 4 steps. That in itself, you solve the problem, because what you save time. So if your product would reduce the time that they will get the job done, you solve a problem. Do you understand? So that's another way to look at it again. Prioritize features and design solutions that directly address the identified jobs, aligning with the desired outcome. All right. So you are prioritizing features and designs that directly addresses these identified jobs that you've identified and aligns with the desired outcomes. All right. Oh, I think I repeated this this slide for applying job twice. All right. Personas and approach. I know someone asked about personas earlier in the class. All right. Personas are fictional, yet data-driven representatives of your target audience. They serve as a powerful tool for keeping the user at the center of the product development process. Do you guys get it? So personas is very, 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 very important. All right. Ensuring that design, features, experience cater to the specific needs, behavior, and characteristics. Well-crafted persona go beyond simple demographic information, explore the motivation, goals, pinpoints, behaviors, and users. Let me give you something. When you've done your job to be done approach, you most likely be developing a persona based on that framework for job to be done, because now you have to then tie this job to be done to a particular fictional character. So you are stating the demography of that person, you are stating the motivation, you are stating the age, you are stating characteristics you are stating the specific needs of that person. So you might have like up to 6 different personas, of your users, and you already see how, okay, this is Tola. Tola is a businessman. Okay, remember when we were talking about that real estate one in terms of house. Okay, this is Fumbi. Fumbi is a 90 years old person, 90 years old woman. She has a large family and a extended family, extended and nuclear family comes to meet her every comes to spend time with her every weekends, all right? And a family member, families as brothers close to 17 to close to 50 to 20 in numbers, all right? She enjoys cooking with them and spending time with them, blah blah blah, and all of that. You're putting all of those things to that personas, all right? You get. So this will help you inform the kind of design of house design of apartment or houses that meet the job that Fumbi, was that name I gave her? Fumbi wants to get done, right? And you have another persona of someone that, okay, Tola is a newlywed. He spent most of the time at home as a this thing, blah 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 blah. He stayed that as well. He's 20, is 28, or he's in his early 30s, blah blah blah, and like that. So you create a persona for each of your target segments that you are looking to build your solution for. All right, this helps your team to empathize with your audience, so you know how Tola and Fumbi is feeling about their needs, the challenges they're experiencing. So you are embodying the whole experience of Tola and Fumbi. So it helps direct how you are thinking of the solution to be for them. All right. So that is very important. Personas are very, very important. Key elements of personas are backgrounds, demographics, age, gender, location, education, and other relevant personal details. Primary goals. The primary goals, desires, the drivers that influence the personal's action and decisions. We already talked about that. Pain points and challenges such as frustrations, obstacles, and problems that the persona faces in relation to the product or the service. Please, so not everything in their life as it relates to your product and your service. Ensure that, so you don't just have a whole article on somebody's life. Okay, all right. The typical patterns of behavioral preferences or habits that characterize the persona. All right, direct quotes and personality descriptors that bring the persona to life and make them more relatable. So you can put some quotes, a stress statement or something that people that fall in that category most likely say, that help people to relate or associate with that persona. All right. Next, applying personas. Pretty much the same approach, to be honest. The same approach as the first one. Conduct user research, interview, survey, to gather data. Same approach, to be honest. Synthesize data to identify distinct user segments or archetypes. Create detailed personas for each segment, ensuring they are based on real user data and not assumptions. All right. Share and socialize the personas across the organization to foster a shared understanding. So, in fact, when you're talking about the personas, there's a way your team will be structured in a way whereby, you be calling your persona name, people will think that you be calling your persona, people will think that it's a real person, in the office like that. People feel like the persona is living among them, or is in the office interacting with them. That's how much you bring your persona to life. All right. You're right. So use personas as a lens for decision making, prioritizing features and validating design choices against the specific needs and characteristics. All right. So next, last one I have here is, I think I skipped one. All right. Last one I have here is, it's supposed to be a particular one. All right. The last one I have here is user journey mapping. All right. User journey mapping is the technique that visualizes the end-to-end experience of the user interacting with a product. Remember, end-to-end. So user journey is very, very important. I'm not going to. I can't stress this enough. It provides an holistic view of the various touch points, actions, and emotions that users encounter throughout their journey, enabling the team to identify pain points, unmet needs, and areas for prioritization, for optimization. All right. The user journey maps typically consist of several components. Remember, you see how the user journey looks like. So the user journey itself contains personas to tell you how all of these frameworks work together. So you most likely will have everything. You have the user journey, you have the personas. You will need the personas, your user journey. You need the job to be drawn approach in your for you to develop your personas. So you still need all of this approach working together. Most likely you would, if you really want to get a very. I'm asking the person that asked the question. Most likely you will need all of these frameworks to help you get the more solid context, a more solid data. All right. The more you have this thing, the more you are so confident about the requirements that you have or the research that you're currently undergoing for your customers. Like I said, this is a crucial phase that you don't want to skip when developing a solution or building a product. All right. So you have to have your personas, scenarios, specific contexts, situations in which the user interact with your product, touch points. Touch points are various channels, interactions that users encounter throughout their journey. Actions, these are steps or activities users perform at each touch point. All right. The feelings, emotions, sentiments, biases, emotional responses users experience during their journey. Those are things that you also capture as well. You capture pain points, opportunities, areas that users face challenges and where improvements can be made. So how do you apply user journey mapping? You define the scope and objective of the mapping exercise, onboarding, phase flow, support experience, and all of that. Identify the relevant personas and the scenarios to be mapped. Gather your user research. You still do user research data for all of it. The interview, the survey, the analytics, the support logs to understand the user journey. You have to still talk to customers or users, regardless of which framework you're working on. Collaboratively map out how many personas if your users are broad. Most likely you want to work, if your users are broad, most likely you might want to have max about 6 to 8 personas, right? But if they are broad, the larger the number, right, the more your personas will most likely be of your user, your segment, all right. But most likely you must first segment your users before you start developing personas. So you don't just having like 20 to 30 personas, clearly. You get. So know your segments before you. How do you know the answer to the questions without a survey? Of course, you do a survey now. Did I say you shouldn't do a survey? All right, don't worry. I'll give Lillian, when I'm done with this part, I'll have the actual question so that I can understand more. All right. So collaborating map out the touch points, actions, and emotions experienced by the user. Identify pain points and bottlenecks and areas for improvement. Prioritize opportunities for optimization, innovation based on the user needs and business goals. Continually update, refine the user journey as user behaviors and experience evolve. All right, that's the end of this slide. So give me 1 second. Just 1 second. All right, Lillian, can you? Yeah, what was your question again, please? Can you guys hear me?
Yes, sir. We can hear you, sir.
Yeah, is Lillian still there?
I'm here.
All right.
And everyone can hear me.
Yeah, we can hear
I
you.
asked some other questions. I was wondering, in the case of the personas, how many do you do? Well, you said about 6 to 8. You mentioned segmenting the users. I don't understand that part. And what if it's a startup? Let's say it's a startup and they're just starting out. They don't have that resources to conduct a survey. How do they even go all through with the survey in the first place?
All right, I did explain the approach. Were you? I don't know if you're late to the class, but I did explain how to conduct your survey in terms of having the your understanding who you are, to know who you are, who you want to, the industry first of all, the users you want to, the people that meet your target audience. All right. So these are people that you pretty much just give your survey to. All right.
Yeah, I understand that part.
Mhm.
You give your survey to your target audience, but isn't it true the personas that you're able to define your target audience?
It is when you remember even when you looked at when we talked about applying your personas, right? I talked about carrying out um user research, right? Gather user to develop your persona. You need to gather user research. I know someone asked that question and I said it. To develop persona, you need to gather. You need to first know your customers, interview them, get feedback from them to know how to develop your personas. That's what you use to develop your personas. The personas don't come before your user research. Your user research is what influences your persona.
Yeah, but that's usually through a survey.
Yes,
Then
that's
you
your
mentioned
the
your
user
cost
the survey,
before.
the interviews, all of that are classed under your user research. Check the material. I showed you several type of user research. I talked about the survey, the focus group, and all of that. Check the materials. So that's
Yeah, I
what
followed up, but
yes.
I'm trying to read online how the process is in a straight line. Okay, you do this before this, you do this before this. In terms
No,
of
no,
persona, I mean, in the case
there's
of
no
a
linear,
startup,
yeah. There's no linear approach to it, right? When you can
okay,
start with your survey or start with the interview first. All right.
okay,
Anyone that
okay,
first. There's no linear way to start. One doesn't have
okay.
to
Can I
need all of those information to influence your product. Go on.
Can I create this scenario? Let's say, for instance, I'm based in the US. I have a product idea and I want to go ahead. I want to move forward with it, validate it, and do all of those stuff. Like I said, I am based in the US. My product is for Nigerians.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm a startup. I don't really have anybody. I don't have much people in Nigeria. Let's say I want to perform the user research. You mentioned surveys. How do I get to reach out to people? How do I make them do these surveys? How do I get
Okay.
the focus groups?
All right. So it's going to be a bit challenging, just so you know, first of all. But there are several places where people, obviously, you know someone. You most likely know someone in your. If you don't want to come to Nigeria, which is mostly what I have to advise for you to be able to do what you want to do. But if you don't intend coming, you have to work with someone that is present in Nigeria. All right, someone that is on ground that can help you. If not one that can help you work with any other persons to get you the data that you need. All right. But first of all, you already know that. For example, now you're building a solution. What industry are you building it for? What are the classes or what are the kind of people that are readily engaged that industry? All right. How do you classify this?
You
All
start
right.
with speculation because
Come
there's no data now backing the thing up.
Yeah, because like I said, a lot of speculations, it is when you start gathering your data, you're able to validate those things. Do you understand? But first of all,
Okay, so you mentioned the part of the survey.
are you hearing me? Hello?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, so what was your question? What's the second question? What was the question you just asked?
I said you did not mention the part of the survey. Okay, let's say the person has someone in Nigeria.
Okay.
How does the person start conducting the survey?
Yeah, so I did talk about the survey. You're making me go back to things I've talked about. Wait, I don't know if you attended part where I was talking about how to create your survey and all of that. Yeah, so you already have your survey.
Survey,
Your
but going forward, let's say you already have the questions you want to ask. You said something about not having like maybe what you
Okay,
how
so
did you even call it?
it's not okay. So this is it. It's a guideline of, for example, now you know what you want to build. First of all, you are not just there's a you for example now you have you're trying to build something, solve a problem in a particular industry or something. It's still an hypothesis. It's not validated yet until you start engaging your customers. So you don't know exactly what the problem is, what the major problem is, but your desire is to build something and solve a problem for this person. Or you don't even know the specifics or the major context of that problem. You might have identified at some point, maybe why being in that space, talking to people. But to validate it is when you carry out that user research with more number, with more with as many number of people as possible, and you're able to compare that data with another one, analyze the data, and know which is the right what's the right problem to solve, what's the main problem to solve for these people. All right, or even this problem is even a problem in the first place. Do you understand? So you're not just waking up and say, I would like, because I think I get what you're saying, right? You first of all, everything you have is still an assumption, it's still an hypothesis. Engaging your customer is already validated. Yeah, you can have hypotheses, you can have assumptions, but you can't build on assumptions. You need to validate it. I'm not saying you shouldn't have assumptions. Remember, there's a part that talks about when you're creating your document, you note your assumptions down. I talked about that, where you have to give a part where you note your assumptions. You'll be a lot of assumptions, but validate them. That's the major thing that I specify there. Because you cannot build on assumptions. You might assume that, okay, maybe this person, then you ask questions to be able to validate an assumption. All right. So you might assume that your customer wants this or this is the problem they're experiencing. Ask questions to see whether this is what you're assuming is right. So when you're not asking open-ended questions, did you experience this? Where the person will tell you no. Yes, no. Ask them, how do you go about this? Maybe the problem you're assuming is in the terms of how they carry out a particular function. All right. Ask them, how do you carry about this particular function? What are the challenges you experience? And when they're talking about it, and they're not talking about the challenges that you have in mind, you know that this is not really a problem that you thought they had. And you interview 20 other set of people, and nobody's talking about the problem that you think they experience, and you ask a question around that. Okay, now you bring it more down, you you narrow it down to that particular area that you think the problem is, and you said, okay, what about when doing this, how does that process go? How do you guys, what did you, how is the experience in going that? What are the challenges you experience? And the person is still saying they're still talking about that. They're not still touching upon that, touching on that problem that you think they're experiencing. It means it's not a problem. Do you
Sir,
understand?
I understand
No,
that part.
bring that down. So what's the question? If I'm not getting it right,
Uh, let's say you like you said you have to validate
can you give me a
your
context?
idea.
Give me a context so that I can. Because
So
I don't think I get your point.
let's say
That's
for instance you have this idea. Like I said, it's a startup,
what
so
idea? What's the
they
idea?
don't know. Let's say it's a health tech company, and they
Okay.
want to build like a telemedicine solution. where you can contact your doctor, or let me even say like Uber for pharmacy or for drugs. So you
Okay.
just order your drugs, something like that. So let's say they want to validate this idea. They thought, okay, this kind of thing is good. Let's say the person is ill and they don't have the strength to go to the hospital or distance, they're able to solve this problem. Now, the
Mm-hmm.
question that I'm asking here is, before you do that survey, you already have your questions down. You have
Mm-hmm.
followed the rules you mentioned. What
Mm-hmm.
is that first step? The first step that you do for you to start that survey? Let's say, for instance, is it like you start going on Facebook groups and joining forums and asking these questions? Is it
Okay.
something like that? How you
Okay.
do if
So
it's
first
bad
thing first is to
based?
identify where your audience are. I think I spaced it. Identify where your audience are. All right. Where to find your audience. All right. Identify where to find your audience. If your people you are building for are elderly people in the healthcare, where can I find elderly people? If they are just anybody that experience that has, of course, everybody has health issues at you know. But if you're trying to solve for people in a particular demography, all right, maybe at a particular age group, we look for where those people are, all right, and share your survey, or um, send a request to interview a couple of them, and that's just it. Those are the two ways.
So you're telling me you can just go and walk up to someone and say, I want to interview you in this?
My dear, you work out to people.
Oh, okay.
But how else will people answer you if you don't go to meet them? Unless you have phobia to
Mhm.
which to approaching people, you will approach a lot of people, my dear. You probably should see when Morning Point started. You will see the CEOs that you see them as major thing when they started their products. They are outside. They are always outside engaging their customers. So you have to be outside, oh, my dear. You
Okay,
get.
sorry, for the focus group, the way you
Mm.
explain it, it sounded like it's a one-on-one conversation that they're having.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
the other says,
Yeah, the customer interview can be a one. So when you
so,
meet, let me give a practical example. So I didn't break that interview process down because of time, but let's say for the interview, right? You already identify someone that you think falls into the demography of which who you are building for, the problem you're solving. You can reach out to them. Let me tell you an example of something I've done for a particular product I worked on about in 2021. It's an advertising space, right? And it's for out of home, billboards, OH, and everything. All right. So one of the things we did also was go on LinkedIn, look at people that are that marketers for, or practitioners for OAH, for out of home billboards and all of that. We identify them, send them a message. Hey, we are running a research on this disease. Blah, blah, blah. Would you like to um, share your expertise, in with one to in about 30 minutes to help us uncover these issues and blah 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 blah, blah. And if the person is interested, the person, oh sure, that's fine. All right, do you mind if we could have this call over WhatsApp or over Google? I'll share you a Google link where you can have that interview. Then they jump on the call, you have your interview straight up. Of course, not everybody would answer you, but you just have to keep reaching out to as many. And those are the challenges you experience when conducting a customer or a stakeholder interview. Does that make
okay,
sense?
thank you. But who does this interview? The,
You
the
now,
product.
you that are the product manager, yes, and your team. You don't like that work, have you?
No.
All right, all right. Thank you. What's the name again?
Lillian.
Yeah. All right. One more question, and we'll call it a day. Another question.
I'm so sorry. Last question.
Is this the
With
Lilian?
the AI, yeah, yes, it's Lillian. Sorry. With the whole AI thing, what do you think? How do you think it will affect product management field?
Lillian, let's have other people, please.
I asked this question since you did not respond.
About the question. Let's have other people. Is it okay if there's no other question? If there's no other question, I'll answer this. Any other question?
No.
Yeah. Any other question, guys? I'm going to send the assessment tomorrow morning for this customer research. So you guys are going to do it. For those of you that don't want to do it, you do it for this week. All right. Today's network is poor.
Please, I have a question. Good evening.
Are you sure? Nina, you can hear me clearly, Abby?
Okay. You should do it.
Victor, everyone can hear me clearly, right?
Yes, please, sir.
Okay.
Yes, please.
I don't understand Victor's network. He said it's poor. All right. Any question?
Yes, please.
Hello.
I have a question.
Who is this? Your name and your question.
Yeah. Good evening. My name is Legalia Aziz.
Okay. Your question.
Yeah. This is my first time of joining since this program have started, and I'm just struggling to join. The network is not okay. In fact, you join us, sometimes you will join, but you will not be able to do anything. I don't just know what's happening, please. I don't even understand the way the program is going at all.
All right. I didn't get your question, Aziz. But can Zomto and oh goodness, can you guys tag into CareerEx? Because I don't think this question is related to the topic. So you can sort that out. Right. Any more question that is related to this topic?
I have a question.
All right. Your name and your question.
Chris K.
Come again.
So I'm Chris K.
All right, Chris.
So my question is, do you need an MVP for the requirement gathering process? Though you said it's an iterative process, but I just want to ask if you need an MVP.
So requirement gathering is something you always keep doing. You always keep doing it. That's one thing about as a PM, you will keep gathering requirements. It's a continuous stuff. It might be before you have your MVP. It might be after you have your MVP. It might be after you have your full-fledged product. Any point, so far you are still building. You are still releasing features. You are still working on the product. You will keep gathering requirements and documenting it. Got it?
Okay.
All right. So Lillian, your last question. What do I think about AI in product management? In what aspect?
Yeah, like is it going to take the role? I heard something about that.
No, not going to take anyone's role in PM. So PM is more strategic, and AI can't do something strategically. In terms of how people, because look at all of the things we talked about, reviewing the emotions of people and all of that. There's a limit. AI is getting to a place where, but as a PM, I even use AI most of my time. Drafting questions. Refining my requirements. AI is a very tool that you most likely use as a PM to make your work easier quickly, especially when you're working on requirements. All right, so you can use AI to refine and your document and all of that. But saying AI will take your job, your role, I don't think it is. It can. Right. Yeah. All right. Thank you so much, guys. So tomorrow again we'll go over another interesting topic, market research and competitive analysis. I'm going to drop an assessment today on the website, on the platform. All right, and when I drop it, I'll notify everyone. Or tomorrow morning. All right. Thank you so much, guys.
Hello, sir. Please, can you
All
repeat
right,
what you just
sweetheart.
said now?
No, I said I'm going to drop an assignment. 2 actually.
Oh, okay.
Week. All right. 2 assignments. All right. So, all right. Thank you so much, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Okay, sir. Thank you. And you too.
Thank you so much.
Have a lovely
Thank you
So
weekend.
much, sir.
Thank you so much.
Have a lovely evening, sir.